So, hello, I would like to welcome Alexis Gregory, who is doing a special World AIDS Day charity gala performance of his amazing play, Riot Act, and it's on the 26th of November, 7 o'clock, and it's a special World AIDS Day performance. Alex, I just want to start. Why is it important for you? You're a big supporter of our wellbeing programme at Dean Street. Why did you choose to raise money for us?
Well, it's a big honour to be asked to do it. I think what Dean Street does for the community and everyone who works here is really amazing, and it felt like Riot Act was a perfect match because Riot Act is a play where I play three gay men over a course of 60 years, going from the night of the Stonewall riots to the present day, and it's created word for word out of my interviews with these men, and I play the three roles, and it's really a play about, I say, 6 decades of queer history, but 6 decades of the queer spirit as well. And so it felt like a really good match for the wellbeing programme. We look at lots of different issues in the play. It's not just Stonewall, AIDS activism and drag, which are the three main themes. We look at family, addiction, relationships, being a young gay man, being an older gay man, mental health issues, drugs, family, sex, how you view yourself, how other people view you. So it felt like a good match with the wellbeing programme, which is also, as I understand, very keen to explore these issues through art, theatre, film, screenings, events.
Brilliant, and that's fantastic, and thank you, because I know that David and I want to put on a lot more of the wellbeing events, and of course these things take money.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the reality, so we're really, really grateful. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to doing it.
Now, the reviews for Riot Act have been amazing.
Yeah, we did it over the summer. We had a run at the Queer Festival.
And I've seen edited highlights of Riot Act, and I will be honest, it really is, and this is not just to butter you up, and I think it was really one of the most powerful performances I've seen in a long time. You've told us a little bit about what it's about. How did it come about? How did you come up with this idea? Because of course you created it as well as acted in it.
I always have these germs of ideas, and I think, that's crazy, is anyone going to go for it? Is anyone going to be interested in me playing these three roles? Okay. But once I have the idea, I can't turn back from it. Right. It kind of came off the back of me doing a play called Safe, about homeless and LGBT youth. Again, a verbatim play. I wasn't in that one, but I had amazing actors playing these four roles, again created out of my interviews. And in many ways, this is like a companion piece, but it's looking at slightly older stories of some older gay men, although, as I said, we go right back to their youth. So it's really a play for all ages. Younger people, older people who were there at the time as well. And so Michael, who is one of the only remaining Stonewall survivors, contacted me and said, would you like to use your story in a play? Would you like to use my story in one of your plays? And I couldn't use it in Safe, of course.
So he came to you?
He came to me, and I said, Safe is about homeless and at-risk LGBT youth. I can't use it for this one, but I said, Michael, hold tight, I will come back to you. It's not every day a Stonewall survivor says, do you want to interview me and use my life story? So really, thanks to Michael in many ways that this play happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I think Michael was probably one of the last survivors of that.
He says that.
Amazing, I mean, life-changing gay men event. So yeah, and incredible that you got the opportunity to tell that person's story.
As we come up to the Stonewall anniversary in 2019 as well, for an audience to hear what one person's perspective of what happened that night, you realise how little people really know about Stonewall. Even though it's this massive iconic moment, people very rarely actually hear from anyone who was there. As you just said, most people, if not everyone else apart from Michael, is not alive anymore. He was a 17-year-old kid on his first night in New York, and he ended up in the middle of the riots.
And I think, you know, because when you told this story, when you do the character, it's almost like I could see the audience were on tenterhooks. It really was. It was like you almost felt that, you know, what was about to happen. And it's so descriptive, because it was verbatim, wasn't it? It's so descriptive. It's almost like you can smell the bar, you can see it, and it really unwinds. And it is you know, without sounding too theatrical, really. I mean, I was on absolutely tenterhooks. It seemed to me, were the people you interviewed, were they keen to tell their stories? Because when you do the performance, it's very much you really want these stories to be heard. It
Yeah,
really comes across. And I know that often when I speak to gay men, you know, of a certain age, they're a bit reluctant. It's like, does anybody want to hear this? I mean, they're amazing stories.
Absolutely.
I don't know what your experience was. People like, no, I don't want to talk about it, or was it?
I was lucky. So as well as Michael, I interviewed Lavinia Co-op, whose story is about the 1970s London life. So it's about alternative drag, radical drag. It's like a history of drag about gay liberation front, early 70s. And I also spoke to Paul Burston, who was a very renowned AIDS activist from the 80s and 90s.
He's amazing. Yeah.
All three of those men said yes straight away. I thought Paul might not want to, because Paul's a writer. I'm basically using his words, but he was completely up for it. Lavinia said, well, come and have a cup of tea and we'll talk. And so I went round to Lavinia's house, and of course I spent hours with all of these men. And I'm kind of, as I was interviewing them, I was guiding them and kind of writing the play in my head and saying, tell me more about that, or that's funny, that's really interesting, tell me more. Then of course I had to then go through the hours of the recordings and work out how do I condense someone's whole life into 20 minutes, and how do I have all those arcs so that, like you say, the audience are going, what happens next, what happens next. It's also very funny, I have to say.
Yeah, really funny.
The play is, the three stories are extraordinary, and there's so much kind of so many hard-hitting moments, but there's real humour in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, certainly because some of the historical language and the references to Julie, had me belly laughing. I mean, it was great. But I think you've told me that a lot of young people have come to see it, so it's not just for people of my age group who just go, oh God, I remember, I'm so glad these stories are being told at last, you know.
I think that we're at the right point, and there's a real movement for young people who want to hear these stories. So I've done performances of it where the whole first few rows are young 16, 17, 18-year-old queer kids that just don't move for an hour, and they want to know what's happened, and they are interested. And people say that young people don't know about their history, or they don't know about gay history. We have to teach them. Young people, they're not going to just have this knowledge fall out the sky. It's up to us to pass it on as well. And the story, it goes across generations.
And it doesn't seem lectury.
No.
You know what I mean? It is somebody's absolute direct experience, and that's what comes across. It's not, I don't know.
That was really important to me, that it doesn't sound like you're preaching and that nobody's being hit over the head. So you're not just hearing about LGBT issues, you're hearing about these characters' whole lives. You hear about somebody's grandmother. I'm kind of almost a character in the play. I'm the interviewer who is really the audience. So you hear what the characters are saying, talking to the interviewer. So we use that as a device in the play. And I also had to think, what can I teach an LGBT audience that they don't know? No one wants to come and hear an hour of stuff they already know. So I had to think, how do I entertain them? How do I make people laugh? How do I educate people without making them feel they're being hit over the head with a message?
Right. When you was doing the performance, what was amazing, and it's your skill as an actor, but it seems more than that somehow, is that you go into these three characters.
I'm possessed.
Yeah.
But that's a bit like a gay version of The Exorcist.
But truly, whoa, there's another character. And it's like, whoa, it really is quite...
I call it a channeling, and in a way that's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to go, oh my gosh, 1 minute this guy's doing this, the next minute he's doing that. I want the audience... So when I do the second character, the audience burst out laughing because they've just heard me be someone else for 20 minutes, and I do a completely different voice and completely different mannerisms. But I am possessed.
And it's weird, it's not you. This is three... it's you, but it doesn't seem like...
I felt I didn't have to work hard to get into those characters, though. I understood them. Maybe as a gay man myself, I didn't feel like I had to go, why does he say that? I don't understand what that means. I felt so comfortable from the beginning with these characters.
Without putting my view across, because I know
Please
what I
do.
think, is that... I don't know, I had such a sense of pride of listening to those stories. I came out and I thought, God, I'm proud to be gay.
Good.
These people are incredible. We've got these amazing people who are often unsung, who are heroes. Do you think, I just said I wasn't going to say, and I've said, but why do you think we need to tell history? If somebody says to you, oh, it's history, who cares? Why do you think that history is important?
I think all of these stories are so important because everything is getting forgotten so quickly, or everything is being rewritten, and it's not really how it happened. This, obviously, even of my age, I don't know what it's like to have lost all my friends to the HIV virus. How can any of us who weren't there understand that if we don't try and communicate and share these stories? The whole Lavinia story, like the underground radical drag squats of Bayswater and Westbourne Park, like, we don't really know about that. So to share all of those, and everyone, a lot of your time the audiences laugh because they think actually nothing's changed.
Right,
The politics
okay.
are the same.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
play
yeah,
where it
yeah,
shows
yeah.
conflict in the community. It doesn't present the gay world as being, you know, a walk in the park. It shows how people turn in on each other. You know, this is happening all the time in our community now. It can be a tough gig with a tough audience sometimes. And like you say, I'm glad you found it inspirational. It's a play that's uplifting. It's about survival.
It was one of those plays, and you know, people might say, well, you would say that, wouldn't you? You know, but I can't. It's one of those things you can't stop thinking about it, and it's almost like the people. I'd love to meet the people who you present. It's like, I want to know more. I want to.
Yeah.
Have other people said that?
Yeah, and we've had nights where we've had Lavinia and Paul in. One day, hopefully, we'll get Michael over from the States to see it. Yeah. They were all so incredibly brave in sharing their stories with me. Nothing was off bars in the interviews. They, you know, I have a line where all of them at the end of their section say, "You can use whatever I've told you." They all speak in different ways. They all have different ways of communicating. So Riot Act is really dedicated to Michael and Lavinia and Paul as well, who've shared their lives with me.
It seems to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, that this has had a real impact on you personally.
Yeah, again, it sounds a little bit actory and a bit pretentious, but it has been like probably one of the most amazing experiences I've had as a performer, as an artist, to share these stories. And even though I've done lots of theatre in small, gritty venues where some plays I've been crawling over the audience's laps, I've never looked in an audience's eyes for an hour and communicated with these people, and you see people crying, people laughing, people nodding, people grateful that their stories are being told. It's been an astonishing experience, and I'm really excited to do the play in the West End on the 26th.
Has it influenced you? Has it changed your view of things? Does it give you, like I said, it gave me a real sense of pride? Has that done that for you? I don't know if you're I mean, obviously, you know, I've watched it. You've created it. Is there stuff you didn't know about?
Oh, absolutely. All the stories, there's stuff I didn't know. There's stuff that in Paul's story, I was around, but I was a kid. I was 15, 16. So it's stuff he talks about, and I go, oh, now I understand it in a different way. I was too young to understand what that meant at that time. It's had a massive effect on me, just in terms of how everyone has a story. And as a writer, that's fascinating to me, and how these stories are complex, and characters might say something that contradicts themselves. That's what we do in life. They're astonishing stories.
One of the characters was basically, it sounded from the play, if I understood, almost about, don't just look at me as an older gay man, listen to me. I've got a story to tell that might be useful, that might be interesting, that might be, and it somehow he felt a bit dismissed. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't come across as bitter, it's just like, you know.
But he takes no prisoners when he goes into that section of the play. That's a very important thing that I didn't mention earlier on. It's about this intergenerational relationship that hopefully we can start having in the community. A lot of the men in the play say that whole concept of intergenerational relationships was wiped out with HIV and AIDS, and once we lost that generation, it never reformed itself. And there is so much prejudice against older people in the community. There's prejudice against younger people, where people, like I say, people get told off for not knowing their history. We have to teach them.
So it works two ways.
It works both ways, I think.
Okay, fantastic. So let's give a plug.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Monday the 26th of November, 7 o'clock. £20. This is a West End show.
Yeah, £20.
And genuinely, it really is going to be one of the best bits of theatre you've seen. I promise you that. It really is brilliant. And thank you so much for sponsoring the Wellbeing
It's a pleasure.
programme.
I'm really excited to do the play again, and hopefully we'll get loads of people coming in and raising money for the Wellbeing programme.
Book your tickets now.
Duchess Theatre.
Duchess Theatre.